I was at the Vancouver convention, and the cosplay that you were going to wear didn't work out.
Yep.
And I was wondering if you could share anything about that, like about how it's going.
I think you got, okay, all right. I'm just gonna tell everyone, because I don't, this was like a pipe dream. So this was like, okay. And I had it all mapped out in my head. And this is one of those points like, okay, don't make it perfect. So, what I wanted to do, it started off with me playing Mario Kart. And I think Vegas Con was the one. I'm like, oh, it would be so fun to ride a go-kart at Vegas instead of walking. Because it's really far, and the hallways are really far. That's how it started. And I'm like, I can do Mario Kart. I could just get a go-kart so I don't have to walk. And then it transformed like, wow, what other vehicles? And then I thought, I'm like, oh, I could do baby. And then, kept going from there. I'm like, oh, if I could do baby, why don't, but I can't just be a car the entire time, then I could just have a car. Well, I need a human form. I'm like, well, maybe I should do like a transforming baby. I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. And then it just started, and we have all these sketches and designs, and basically I wanted to physically ride up, or like be parked on the stage or something, and like be there for hours until it was my turn. Seriously, like I'll come early, just like drop me off. It'll be like a stage prop, and I'll take a nap until and just have like Richard kick me away. And at some point, I would just like turn on the lights. There's an electric component, and I wanted like a radio in there, and like sound speakers and an amp and all that. And we had it all like set up. And then I had to transform in a smooth and efficient way. It just started growing from there, And so in Vancouver, the guy that helped me make the costume in the end, he drove from Atlanta to Vancouver in 4 days. And we looked at it and I tried it out. I'm like, okay, it works. It worked. I'm like, it looked like the car, awesome. It was about like that big, like a miniature version. And I could fit in it. And, I did transform, but it was so clunky, it was like, there, right? Which isn't that bad. But at the time I was kind of a perfectionist. I'm like, and the sound speaker isn't loud enough, and like the lights work, but I think I want to change the bulbs. It was a lot of things, and I think I was going to do it, but then I saw his face. I'm like, you're not happy with this. He's like I could probably use another two iterations of this, and then I'm like, I know exactly how that feels, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, let's go back to the drawing board. And then he drove back to Atlanta. It was like a 10-minute thing, and it was, I have to give it to him, like for his work ethic. But he's a perfectionist too, and his name is Roy Woolley. He's on Sci-Fi's Face Off, and he was just one of those like geniuses. And you watch the show, it's like, how is he, like even the people in the show, he's like, I don't know how he's doing these things. But it was a really tough time for him, because his wife like developed leukemia like the month where he was building it. So it was so hard. So I know not right. So everything kind of fell through. For a reason. So I'm thinking about still doing it, but we'll see. My agents probably won't like that. I think I need an engineering team.
You should totally do it.
It would be really fun. Yeah. And I wouldn't have to walk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then I thought, go-kart. There's this thing called the Crazy XL Racer. I think they sell it at Toys R Us. I was thinking another version of it would be like a go-kart, and I could just... Okay, anyways. Okay. I won't share my designs with you, I'll just do it. Hi.
I was wondering if you have any advice for people that have suicidal thoughts, because about a year ago I had an experience where I tried to kill myself, and I was wondering if you had any advice.
I mean, this is tricky. I read this article recently that it was this awful experiment, but nonetheless it was carried out. And so there's this dog, okay? A dog in a kennel, and it's getting shot repeatedly, like super painful shots. And the door's wide open, and all the dog has to do is walk out, and the shots would be over. But the dog just stays there, getting shocked, right? And so you're wondering, why isn't this dog just leave? Now the experiment was, door was closed, shocking the dog. And the dog is fighting, he's pissing, shitting everywhere, he's barking. He literally does everything he can to stop the pain until a certain point where he just gives up. And at that point they open the door and there's kind of no more hope, right? And so the dog stops looking even though it's right in front of him. And I can't remember the name of like what it's called, but...
Learned helplessness.
There you go, learned helplessness. And so this happened to like during the Holocaust, you know, and they would see a lot of prisoners with this thing. So it's learned helplessness. And so the one thing I would say is like a lot of people that I've talked to, you know, they're kind of in that zone where, you know, they've tried everything they possibly could to get out of it, but at the time, like, it was just hopeless. So I would just try to tell you to, I don't know, every now and then just remind yourself to look and see if things are different. See if there's a new face for you to reach out to talk to, you know, because they might be there and you might not even realize it. But I think the first step is to communicate, talk to people, you know, share your thoughts and I don't know. I mean, I read a lot about these things. Another thing is, I think it's just overall trying to be positive. And it's really hard when you're in a depressive state. But every time we make a thought, every time we do an action, you know, our bodies, our brains physically evolve. We have synapses that, there's these electric signals that kind of, you know, trigger every time we do something. So if I'm touching this mic like this, every time I do this, there's an electrical signal between two synapses that go. And every time I do it, like microscopically amount, those two will go closer together, right? And so that's us evolving to the point where I'm really good at touching this mic this way, right? And so I think it's the same with, you know, positive thoughts and reaching out to people. And obviously you know, it takes a long time, but you have to start and you have to kind of practice. And it, just like Tim said, you know, acting, it is a muscle in the same way that this is a muscle. So I think starting off and forcing yourself into these habits of positive thinking, reaching out to people until you can get to the point where you can start thinking positive is a big step. But I don't think there is one answer, but I think not keeping it in by yourself is the first good step. So reach out and you know, thanks for bringing it up. Talk to people.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful community here. Everyone is so supportive. And always keep fighting.
Always keep fighting. So true. Unless you're Jared and it's the green room and you challenge Osric to wrestle, in which case, please God, stop fighting. Or you're gonna get his shoulder pulled out of joint. Probably true.
There it is. That'd be me.
It really happened. There's a reason why we call him Master Chow. Not just because he's wise and old beyond his years, but also because he can take a moose and bring him to his knees with a simple stroke of an arm. He's a genius. He's a maniac. He's the machete. Osric Chow! Nice harmonizing, boys. Well done, Billy Moran.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
There he goes. We love Friday.